In this lesson, we are focusing on trigonometric ratios. Specifically in this lesson, we're going to be looking at the tangent ratio. So there are three trig ratios. We've talked about cosine, we've talked about sine, which was the first one. And that's abbreviated SIN. So the sine ratio of an angle theta is always the opposite side of that angle over the hypotenuse. Then we have the cosine, and that's abbreviated COS. The cosine of a given angle is the adjacent side over the hypotenuse. And finally, we're going to talk about the tangent ratio. Tangent is abbreviated TAN. So the tangent ratio of some angle theta is the opposite side over the adjacent side. Okay. Now we're going to go over to a pretty basic triangle, and we're going to look at the tangent ratio for angle X and then for angle Y. So for angle X, the tangent of X is going to be the opposite side over the adjacent. So again, we're going to go straight across to the opposite. So the opposite would be B. And the adjacent side is the side that forms the angle but is not the hypotenuse. So that would be A. Okay, so if it helps you, if you get confused with which side is the adjacent, you can always look at your 90-degree angle and go ahead and label your hypotenuse. That way you don't ever get those mixed up. Okay. Now we want to look at the tangent of angle Y. So from this angle, we're going to do the opposite over adjacent. So the opposite, we're going to go straight across. That leaves us at angle A. And the adjacent is the side that connects to the angle but is not the hypotenuse. So that would be B. All right, let's look at some examples. Just like we did with cosine and sine, we can find the numeric value of a given degree. So if we click functions and then trig and click tan of 60, we want to make sure that we are in degrees. So click the toolbar and make sure that the degrees is highlighted. And we're going to round to the nearest tenth. So that would be 1.7. Right now, let's look at another triangle and actually calculate the ratio, the tangent of angle Z. So angle Z, I'm going to mark that, and remember we're looking for the opposite over the adjacent. So the opposite side is going to be 21. The adjacent side is going to be 28. Okay, so we had opposite over adjacent. Now to calculate that value, we're just going to divide 21 divided by 28. And that gives us 0.75. We're rounding to the nearest tenth, so that's 0.8. And number 3, we have another triangle. We're looking at the tangent of X. So again, we're going to have to find the opposite over the adjacent. So the opposite is going to be 32. The adjacent side is going to be 24. So opposite over adjacent. We're going to calculate 32 over 24. That gives us a 1.3 repeating. Number 4, the tangent of angle C. So again, looking for opposite over adjacent. So opposite is 27. The adjacent side is going to be 36. And to calculate that, we're going to divide 27 divided by 36 is 0.75, which is 0.8 if we're rounding to the nearest tenth. Okay, number 5 and 6, we are going to use the tangent ratio to solve for a missing side. So with the angle that's given, we have the opposite side and we have the adjacent side. That alone, without even being told, that tells us to use tangent because we have opposite and adjacent. So we're going to set up our trig ratio. The tangent of 24 degrees is equal to the opposite over the adjacent. Now we want to solve for x, so we need to get x out of that fraction by undoing the division on both sides. So we're going to times 12 on each side. Now on the right side, we have 12 divided by 12. So that is equal to 1, so we can cross out the 12s. And we're just left with 12 times tangent of 24 is equal to that missing side, x. So we need to calculate 12 times tangent of 24, and that gives us 5.3 approximately. So that missing side is approximately 5.3. And finally, number 6, we're going to use the tangent to find the missing side, x. So from the angle 49, we have the opposite side and we have the adjacent side. So immediately opposite adjacent tells us to use the tangent ratio. So the tangent of 49 is the opposite over the hypotenuse. Over the adjacent. So we need to, again, solve for x by undoing that fraction. So we're going to do times x on both sides. Now, x divided by x, that is equal to 1. So we can cross those out. So x times the tangent of 49 is equal to 14. Now we still have to get x by itself. So now we need to undo the multiplication of tangent 49. So divide by tan 49 on each side. Now tan 49 over tan 49 is equal to 1 because it's just something divided by itself. So those are effectively being crossed out. And we're left with x equals 14 divided by the tangent of 49. So we can calculate tangent divided, or 14 divided by tangent of 49. And that leaves us with 12.2 if we're rounding to the nearest tenth.